In the 85th verse, Allah promises the believers a reward for their righteousness, eternal gardens with rivers flowing beneath them. What a beautiful promise! But for those who reject faith, the Quran reminds us that their place is in the hellfire. This teaches us about the stark consequences of disbelief. Now, let's look at the importance of following Allah's commands with a verse that speaks about prohibitions and the limits of human authority. Allah tells us in verse 87 not to make unlawful the things He has made lawful. We are reminded not to exceed His boundaries. In Islam, the power to legislate what is halal, permissible, and haram, forbidden, is reserved for Allah alone. No human, whether they are religious leaders, kings, or anyone else, has the right to declare something unlawful without divine permission. This is a critical point in Islam, where we learn that it is wrong to let anyone, including rabbis or priests, dictate what is lawful or unlawful unless it is clearly prescribed by Allah or His Messenger, peace be upon him. Moving on, verse 88 tells us to eat the lawful and good things Allah has provided and to always be mindful of Him. This is a simple yet powerful reminder. We must recognize the blessings around us and remain grateful. Now, let's talk about making promises. Sometimes, we make oaths in anger or excitement that we can't fulfill. Allah teaches us in verse 89 that He will not hold us accountable for unintentional or trivial oaths. But if we do make a serious oath, we must fulfill it. If we break an oath, there are expiation measures like feeding the poor, clothing them, or fasting. The message here is clear: be mindful of the promises you make, and don't take them lightly, especially when invoking Allah's name. In verse 90, we are warned against intoxicants and gambling. These are not just harmful to us physically, but they lead to divisions and enmity among people. They take us away from the remembrance of Allah and our prayers, which are central to our spiritual well-being. So, we must avoid these activities to keep our hearts and minds focused on Allah. In verse 92, Allah reminds us to obey Him and His Messenger. If we stray from this, remember, the duty of the Prophet was simply to deliver the message in the clearest manner. And lastly, verse 93 encourages us to keep striving for good deeds. When we guard ourselves from evil and do good, we earn Allah's love. By following these teachings, we can live lives full of righteousness and earn Allah's eternal reward.